My name is Eleni Avramidis. I met Stefanos when I was 10 years old. We traveled together from Greece. It was him and his mom, he and his mom, and it was me and my parents. It was early May. I can't remember the exact day, but it was early May. And I think he was probably 13 and I was 10. I had never seen him before, and I didn't realize at that time that we were going to the same destination. My father introduced us, but that was the end of that for the whole trip. And then when we got off the airplane, I suddenly realized that we were going to the same apartment. And his dad was very kind to offer us a place to live while we looked for an apartment. It was very tight quarters, but we were so happy that we had somewhere to stay. My brother was only 9 months old, so it would have been very difficult to find somewhere really fast where we could all be safe. And Mr. Athanasios and Mrs. Anna, Stefanos' parents, were just amazing hosts. I have to tell you a little story about how we lived in that little apartment, because it shows the difficulties that we started with. It was a studio apartment with a large closet, and they put a mattress in the closet, and that became the private quarters of Mr. and Mrs. Miltsakakis for the night. The rest of us took a couch, we put blankets on the floor, and we made it do. It was very nice. It was very warm. I remember lots of wonderful cooking going on. I remember bananas. That was my one thing, because we didn't have many bananas in Greece, and we had, when we went to the store, we all bought so many bananas. And I remember Stefanos and I eyeing the largest ones at the same time. And he let me win. I got the largest banana. Stefanos, at the age of 12 or 13 when I first met him, was a very nice looking young man. I remember that thinking of that at 10 years old. He was very polite with everyone, very patient with everyone. He wanted to win things, but he knew that I was a little bit younger, so he allowed me to win a few things myself. I remember we had a contest one time of saying the opposites in English. So for instance, one would say sun, the other would say moon. And then we would mark to say who got the most correct. And I remember the last question that would actually give us our points was a very easy one, and he could have easily have won that. But he lost it. And I won the game again. But that was Stefanos, very giving and but very competitive at the same time. And that competitiveness gave him, I think, a connection to people. It allowed him to be part of two different cultures and combine the love of those two cultures with a sport. Each culture had their own loves, and he had that connection between the two cultures and the love of a sport. Greco-Roman wrestling. And it was wonderful to see that he cared about his own culture, but at the same time, he wanted to be so very much of the new culture of the United States. And he found a wonderful way to make the two connect. Some of us are still struggling to make the two connect. But I think that competitiveness came throughout his years, throughout his life. From making the Olympic team to going to my hometown, Sochaux, which is a lovely story I have to tell you about. He came to Sochaux to compete in that local, regional, small Olympic Games, which the Games itself had brought many from many different parts, including many come from Turkey, many come from Bulgaria, from southern Greece. So he had, there was quite a competition there of some very nice athletes. I, at that time, was not there to watch him. I have learned this through a different source from one of our dearest friends in Greece. He won the Games. No amazement there. But the best part is that Sochaux remembers him because he is the Greek boy who went to America, who came back to Sochaux to take part in their Olympic Games, which they were so proud to have there in my little town. And he walked away with the win. He walked away with a trophy. They remember him to this day. Every time I go to Sochaux to visit, I have been there approximately 5 times. Each time someone else will ask me, do you know of someone named Stefanos who won our original Greco-Roman wrestling a while back? And I said, yes, believe it or not, I know of Stefanos. Describing Stefanos in one sentence, that is a very difficult thing to do. A seeker of dreams. He sought out his dream. He made it possible. Then he sought out another dream, and he made that possible. And he moved in life very, very knowing, very knowing of what he wanted to do, I think, and going for it. When I heard of his passing, unfortunately, it was during a time that I was going through some difficulties in my life. My mother had just passed away as well. And I could not, at that time, I just could not understand how that could have happened. My mother was much older. She had suffered from Alzheimer's, and here was this man who was almost my age, and he had just passed. He always looked so healthy, so much in charge of his well-being, always taking care of himself. And then to hear that he suddenly had passed away, and I had learned this sometime in May of that year, and he had passed away in January. And I just did not know how to take it, honestly. I think we were all shocked. What would I say to Stefanos if he was right here in front of me at this time? I would say, I'm glad to see you again. I'm glad you're here. I'm very sorry for all the times that I wasn't there when I should have been there in your life. I'm sorry for not giving you a chance to tell me more about the book you wanted to write. He wanted to write a book about his life story, and he wanted to say of how great he felt, how great it was that he had a chance to come to the United States and live the life that he wanted. He was an amazing patriot of the United States. He loved this country. And I would say to him, I'm sorry I didn't pay more attention to that. I was going through my own difficulties around that time of struggling between two home countries. And I couldn't understand how you could possibly feel so connected to this country. But he did. And I would say, please write your book. We all want to know. Thank you for telling me that he wrote the book. I have not read it, and I would love to read it. It gave me great joy to hear that he actually made that dream come true as well. That just shows one more time how capable he was of making his dreams come true, of making whatever he put in his mind. He made it come to life. And I am so glad to hear that he actually did write that wonderful book. I would love to read it. I hope they make it into a movie. When I was around about 26 or so, he must have been 28 or 29. I was pregnant with my second child. His mother decided to give me a baby shower at her house. They invited over 25 women, their children. Some husbands came along to keep Mr. Thanasi company, as they said. There was a lot of people in the house, and thankfully they had a wonderful large home to accommodate everyone. And we all were sitting around the table discussing and opening gifts, and then all of a sudden we hear, Stefanos is here. And he comes in. Now you have to imagine the scene. These were women, most of us were late 20s, early 30s, and here comes Stefanos in his late 20s, and he is wearing a very tiny and very tight shorts and a very tight top, showing all the muscles of his body. He comes in and he greets us. He greets everyone. His mom gives him hugs. We all try to hug him and hover around him. And then his mom started to cry and realized we all realized there was something more going on there than just a visit from Stefanos. It was the day that he decided to leave for California. It was going to be his mother's saddest day to see her son leave and go so far away to California, so far for her. He picked that day because there would be so many people in the house. And that day was planned for the past month and a half, possibly. And I think he thought that would be a little bit easier for his mom to have all these people around her when he was heading out to make the trip to California. And he, of course, was embarking on the great adventure of his life right there and then.